Hello and welcome to Nationwide News on the network service of the NTA. I am Norlene Abel Ame with the news. Let's begin the bulletin by informing you that President Bola Tinubu has transmitted to the Senate proposed fiscal policy and tax reform bills for consideration and passage. Provisions in the bills aligned with ongoing financial reforms of the federal government to enhance efficiency in tax administration, harmonization and compliance, and also help reduce tax disputes. The bills include Nigeria Tax Bill, Nigeria Revenue Service, Repeal and Reenactment Bill, Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill.
Presents substantial benefits to align with my government's objectives and fiscal reform and economic growth by enhancing taxpayer compliance, strengthening our fiscal institutions, and fostering a more effective and transparent fiscal regime.
Senate has in the meantime passed for second reading bill to establish a South-South Development Commission sponsored by Senator Asuko Ekpenyong and others from the zone. In other news, former executive Director Programs of the Nigerian Television Authority, Peter Igo, has been made the National Coordinator, National Senior Citizens Center, and Goodwill Ambassador of Age-Friendly Service and Elder Justice. Elizabeth Omori reports that this was at the National Media Veterans Roundtable, where professionals in the broadcast industry and entertainers were also announced goodwill ambassadors to champion the cause of the older population.
It's taking steps to address challenges faced by its aging population, which is projected to triple by 2050. The likes of Mohamed Labo, Cyril Stoba, Danla Dibako, Tony Akposheri, and Chika Opala, also known as Zebodiah, have been appointed as goodwill ambassadors to utilize their expertise to come up with adaptable solutions to tackle issues affecting the aged.
It is up to us, the seniors, citizens, and those behind us to see how we could partner together so that the elders could impart their knowledge and wisdom.
I'm so happily grandiose that the government has come about to think about the elderly who have contributed so much in building of this nation.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, in his message to the gathering, emphasized that caring for the elderly aligns with the renewed hope agenda of the President, and state governments as well as families should help change the narrative around aging.
An advanced age is neither a call to redundancy nor is retirement a death sentence.
There are engagements, the infrastructure situates everybody within the context of development. Nobody left behind.
Life after 60 is not a death sentence.
Issues such as healthcare, financial inclusion, and stereotyping were raised as key areas to address. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
The Freedom of Information Act was enacted in 2011 as part of efforts to enhance access to information in the custody of public and private entities in Nigeria. But this has not been fully adhered to by some government agencies in the release of documents to media practitioners. The International Press Conference Center brought up the issue at an interactive session with the Federal Ministry of Justice with the aim of ensuring that government agencies and the media understand their complementary roles in government.
Absolute, but they have to be taken into consideration before government information can be released. And we have tried as much as possible to get public institutions to abide by the provisions of the Act.
The Permanent Secretary was kind to receive us, and he also explained some of the constraints and challenges that public officials face that maybe members of the public may not be aware of. And we said that that also reinforces the need for us to have this kind of cooperation.
There's a need to have an accessibility or accessible format of that information. FOI is an important document to the community of persons with disability.
Second issue worth mentioning was the challenge faced by persons with disabilities in accessing critical public information for use. The Justice Ministry pledged to use its role as pathfinder in helping people with disabilities to gain access to relevant information concerning government activities. The global initiative of decarbonizing the Earth in a bid to achieve net zero by 2060 may remain only a target if collective efforts are not being put in place. Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Isiaq Salako, at the Go Green initiative to mark Nigeria's 64th independence, believes tree planting and deployment of technology will have a huge impact on timely realization of the state goals. Charles Alpha reports.
There is a saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. This epitomizes the huge impact trees combined with smart climate technologies can have on the alien planet if the collective effort on the ongoing green initiative is sustained. The Ministry of Environment, AK Connect, and their partners acknowledge the need to promote environmentally sustainable initiatives and are using the occasion of the 64th anniversary of Nigeria's independence to commence planting of 1,000 economic trees by engaging students at the University of Abuja to protect the planet and promote nature-based solutions while also connecting people through decarbonization to meet the net zero target.
It's not just an activity, it's a mandate. And we are committed to it, and we are committed to the global initiative of decarbonizing the earth while protecting the planet.
Highlighting the importance of trees, Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Isiaq Salako, said this initiative aligns with the ministry's target of planting 6 million trees this year and President Bola Tinubu's sustainable forest management and conservation efforts.
Our strength in Africa is nature. And that is why we have always promoted nature-based solutions like tree planting that we're doing, but we cannot but also utilize technology, carbon capture technology are very critical.
The groups are confident these collective efforts will go a long way in meeting the environmental and health needs of students in tertiary institutions. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
We now join Michael Olale in our Lagos Network Center for more stories on Nationwide. Hi, Michael.
Olin, the federal government says the signing of a new bilateral air service agreement, BASA, with the United Arab Emirates, UAE, will not only secure more routes for indigenous airlines to compete favorably, but will also grant right of forced refusal to Nigerian operators when code-sharing. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, stated this when reacting to the return of a major UAE carrier to Nigeria after 2 years. It's been 2 years since Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates disagreed on specific air service agreements bordering on visa and flight suspension, and since resolution was reached on issuance of visa to Nigerians, both countries have been working to smoothen bilateral ties, lifting ban on flight operations. And now that this has been achieved, the minister said securing the return of the major UAE carrier to Nigeria is in the interest of the country, the indigenous operators, and enhancing competitiveness in the global aviation markets.
We are also free to fly to any airports in the UAE. I'm sure you know, without mentioning an airline, when this was suspended, I'm sure you know that some other airlines reaped the benefits. Many of them increased their frequencies to Nigeria. Many of them increased their prices because the seats were now available, flights were now available, and all of that. But you also know that why we fought for this is to ensure healthy competition, and healthy competition leads to competitive prices for the benefit of the Nigerian people.
The minister said the fastest direction to implementing the Cape Town Convention, as identified by this administration, is opening up the aviation industry in Nigeria, which invariably is increasing the country's compliance index and boosting the confidence of investors. Nigeria's journey to nationhood is a story of the emergence of a beacon of hope for the African continent and the black race due to its enormous resources, with the First and Second Republics providing ample opportunity to lay a foundation for the economic and political development of Nigeria. Stakeholders believe replicating the developmental templates of the nation's founding fathers will address some of the challenges bedeviling the nation.
Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand, a popular line in the first stanza of Nigeria's national anthem speaks to national unity and efforts of the nation's founding fathers in forging an alliance which served as a springboard that catapulted Nigeria to vantage points among the Committee of Nations during the First Republic. The success stories of the nation's heroes hinged on patriotism and selfless service is an ideology that still resonates till date and should be imbibed.
The promise is how we can truly build a very resilient democracy where all the diversity of our country can find a place and a meaning and help to move Africa ahead.
Nigeria, just like other nations, is still work in progress, and respondents believe the hope of arriving at the expected destination is in sight.
Developed countries around the world, it took them a century and a half to get to where they're going. So at 64, I think we are still on that journey. A couple of missteps, but we'll find a way back. And I think that sense of nationhood should be collective.
For religious leaders, prayers for the nation is just as important as its unity, which is not negotiable.
Both Hausa, Igbo, Yorubas will be living in good deeds.
And nothing will stop God from doing the right thing for us. We individually will contribute our quota by trusting God and doing what is right.
The journey to nationhood, respondents unanimously agreed, requires sacrifice from both the leaders and followers. In Lagos, Joel Ukbola, NTA News.
Those are the reports from Lagos. Nationwide continues in our Kaduna Network Center after this break. Do stay.
Thank you very much for joining us in Kaduna. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC Kaduna State Command, has made significant progress in tackling criminal activities within the state. The commandant of the Corps, Nuhu Bello Muhammad, stated this while parading a suspected gun runner and 7 illegal miners here in Kaduna. Adamu Sunday reports.
The arrest of the gun runner comes amidst widespread public concern over the rise of gangsterism and violence, which has resulted in the loss of lives and property in the state.
my men were on patrol around Major Road, Zaria, in Zaria. They noticed a suspicious movement of motorcyclists and one other person who is currently at large. While trying to interview them, one of them took to his heels and escaped. And then my men conducted a search on the cyclist named Awal Ahmed, aged 62, and discovered they were carrying a bag loaded with 7.62 by 39 mm live ammunition, numbering 440 with 20 empty AK magazines.
In a separate operation, the NSCDC apprehended 7 individuals in Kachalehu government area of Kaduna State for engaging in illegal mining activities.
I want to use this medium to once again warn all those criminal elements in the state to either repent or be ready to face justice, as we will arrest them and bring them to book.
The NSCDC commander has assured the public that the agency remains committed to making Kaduna State a crime-free environment. He urged citizens to cooperate by promptly alerting the personnel on any suspicious activities within and outside the state. In Kaduna, Adamu Sunday, NTA News.
In a remarkable display of patriotism and endurance, Sose Ayagwa, a 400-level student at the Air Force Institute of Technology, ran 64 kilometers to celebrate Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary. Haruna Muhammad reported that this was not the first time Ayaga marked the nation's independence with a long-distance run for his country, Nigeria. The report.
At the crack of dawn, Success Ayagwa, a final year student of Air Force Institute of Technology, Kaduna, set off on a remarkable journey within the Nigerian Air Force Base, racing 64 kilometers in commemorating Nigeria at 64, and he completed the grueling race under 5 hours to the astonishing spectators with his impressive stamina and unwavering determination. Ayagwa's passion for long-distance running has deep roots. Just last year, he ran 63 kilometers in honor of Nigeria's 63rd anniversary, calling it a personal tribute to both his country and his love for the sport.
I have the love towards my country, so due to the talent I have, I want to demonstrate the love towards the country, Nigeria. So I'm just motivated to do it for Nigeria and my institution, Air Force Institute of Technology.
It shows the love students of our field have for Nigeria, because the essence of this is to demonstrate that we are happy that Nigeria is 64 years today. And that is why you see that the young man was able to run 64 kilometers, 1 kilometer for each year that Nigeria has gained independence.
As Nigeria celebrates its 64th year of independence, Ayagwa's run serves as a powerful symbol of resilience, hope, and unwavering patriotism to his country, Nigeria. In Kaduna, Haruna Muhammad, NTA News.
And that's our contributions from this end. Our Abuja studio will take it up from here. Thank you very much for watching, and happy independence anniversary of Nigeria.
I wish you the same, Muhammad. Thank you for your contribution from Kaduna. With the rains intensifying in parts of the country, the National Orientation Agency, NOA, is ramping up its public campaign, rallying communities and groups to take proactive measures against the looming threat of rising tides and devastating floods. With memories of past disasters still fresh, the agency's timely intervention aims to safeguard lives, properties, and livelihoods in vulnerable communities, from the banks of the River Niger to the low-lying areas of Lokoja, Ida, and Kotonkarfi. The NOA team is spreading life-saving messages, conducting town hall meetings, and distributing vital information materials. Solomon Ayedehe tells us more.
NOA's flood sensitization and evaluation team is in Kogi State, visiting 9 local government areas to deliver a clear message: evacuate before the flood hits.
We are now visiting all communities to talk to them, to get prepared in case of any eventuality, because we have seen what has happened in 2022 and 2012.
The first stop was Edeha, a community already dealing with rising water levels. NOAA team moved to Lokoja, Kogi State capital, where they met with the Megeri of Lokoja, a traditional leader. At the Megeri's palace, the NOAA team discussed the need for community leadership in spreading the message. The team then visited Kwata Market, an area at risk of flooding. Traders were encouraged to move their goods and families to safer areas before the flood strikes. Similar concerns were raised in Ganaja, a Jaokuta local government area, where residents worried about relief efforts during past floods. In Lokoja, Solomon Ayedehi, NTA News.
Still staying in Lokoja with Solomon Ayedehi, he joins us live from there to talk to us further on the flood menace at the end. Solomon, hi.
Good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon to you. Now, can you tell us how successful has its flood sensitization campaigns been in reaching vulnerable communities in Kogi State?
Before I answer that question, I need to give you a brief about the situation on ground right now. I am standing at Adankulu community in Lokoja metropolis, and behind me is River Niger. Early this morning, the water level on River Niger was 10.05 meters, indicating steady rise in the water level. And this calls for concerns. And also, it makes the visit of NOA sensitization team to the state more vital and important. And of course, the team moved from Kotonkarufe to Lokoja, from Lokoja to Ajaokuta local government, covering most of the flood-prone local government areas in the state. And looking at the experiences of flood victims in 2012 and 2022, they expressed readiness to relocate to higher ground. And while we were there, we saw some of the victims moving their properties to higher ground, particularly in the Deha community in Kogi local government area. So I want to tell you categorically that the sensitization engagement by NOA was fruitful, and people expressed desire to move to higher grounds to avert the reoccurrence of 2012 and 2022 experience.
All right, Solomon, how does NOA, collaborate with local government authorities and stakeholders in Kogi State to amplify flood sensitization messages and promote community engagement?
Yes, during the visit, the team visited traditional rulers. They visited marketplaces, educating and enlightening the public on the need for them to relocate to higher grounds. In fact, they ensure that they engage traditional rulers mostly to assist in disseminating the messages across to people in the rural areas, that is, those living on the floodplains, to ensure that the message gets across to them. We also, SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, were also on the ground when the NOA team visited, and they expressed readiness to collaborate with NOA to ensure that the message gets to the people that are seriously concerned. And SEMA made it clear to NOA team that 42 IDP camps have been opened across the 9 prone local government areas of the state. Of course, the Ibaji axis has been moved to Ida because Ibaji is expected to be 100% covered by a river. So 8 local government areas of the state are hosting IDP camps where flood victims are likely or are expected to move to. But at present, the engagement has been successful. traditional rulers are involved, disseminating the same messages, while state emergency management agencies are
Solomon,
canvassing and combing all the flood-prone areas, telling them the need why they should move to higher ground, because they want to prevent a reoccurrence of 2022 and 2012 experiences.
All right, thank you so much, Solomon, for your contribution from Lokoja on flood issues. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says Nigeria is stepping up engagement with its neighbors and other regional and international partners in order to stabilize the Sahel region. He was the chief host at the maiden annual international lecture by the News Agency of Nigeria with the theme Insecurity in the Sahel, Dissecting Nigeria's Challenges, Genesis, Impacts and Opinions, held in Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
Insecurity has remained a global challenge, particularly in the Sahel region. As a giant of Africa, Nigeria is sharing a long and porous border with countries in the Sahel and is increasing its security vulnerability. However, Nigeria, more than ever before, is working to turn the tide by strengthening its role on multinational joint task force and investment in equipment and manpower, as highlighted by the government's image maker.
Since his assumption of office 16 months ago, 12 aircraft have been acquired to boost the fighting capacity of our armed forces, amongst other investments in the sector. In his independence anniversary 2 days ago, the President succinctly captured the successes recorded thus, and I quote, "On the security front, I am happy to announce to you, my compatriots, that our administration is winning the war on terror and banditry. Our target is to eliminate all the threats of Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and the scourge of all forms of violent extremism." End of quote. By understanding the root causes and evaluating the impact on our territorial integrity and implementing strategic policy measures, we can effectively address the challenges posed by this crisis.
He is confident that the future is assured in view of the successes being recorded in the fight against insecurity within 1 year of the current administration. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
In other news, the federal government is committing resources to ensure that the country achieves self-sufficiency in wheat production. This announcement coincides with Nigeria hosting the West and Central Africa Summit on wheat in Abuja. Musa Babaleu reports.
Countries across West and Central Africa have traditionally depended on wheat imports to meet the demands for one of the world's most important crops. Reports indicate that African continent spent $20 billion annually on wheat imports, with Nigeria alone importing 6 million metric tons valued around $3 billion each year. Nevertheless, agricultural researchers believe that the continent has the capacity to achieve self-sufficiency in wheat production, reducing its reliance on imports.
Production of wheat is becoming very profitable because of the new varieties that have been released to farmers, very high yielding, very responsive to the agronomic packages that were developed by my institute, Lecture Research Institute.
We have the ecology necessary to grow the wheat in our country. So Burkina Faso, you say, is a Sahelian zone, but we grow wheat.
This is our first interaction with this network.
This belief has spurred a gathering of researchers and key stakeholders in wheat production value chain from West and Central Africa to discuss strategies for enhancing wheat production in the regions.
As we convene today, we recognize the urgency of our mission, the impact of climate change, shifting agricultural practices, and the global demand for food necessitate that we innovate and adapt.
There's not much we can do in transforming the wheat sector if we don't invest
in science, technology, and innovation. If you need a game-changing scheme, we must invest.
The summit's focal point is prioritizing policy, innovative technologies, and investment in wheat transformation towards sustainable food security and economy in West and Central Africa. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And on education, the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with 13 state Universal Basic Education Boards, SUBEBs, across Nigeria to implement the Early Grade Reading Initiative. This initiative, driven by a result-based financing model, seeks to link financial resources directly to educational outcomes. The goal is to ensure that investments in education aligns with tangible improvements in students' reading ability, particularly in the foundational years. By adopting this approach, UBEC aims to guarantee that educational funding yields measurable progress in literacy.
Activities towards ensuring that all Nigerian children are given ample opportunity to learn to read, develop themselves, and contribute to the transformation of our society.
We want our children to start reading at the foundational level in a proficient manner so that there will be a spillover effect when they move or transit to upper classes.
This collaboration underscores the collective commitment of UBEC and participating SUBEBs to enhance reading culture in schools, aligning with the objectives of the National Reading Framework to promote literacy and learning outcomes for all students. Anwule is standing by in our Benin Network Center with more stories on Nationwide. Good evening, Anwule.
Hello, Nolan. Good evening. You're welcome to Benin. Sex trafficking is said to be among the 3 most common crimes in Nigeria after drug trafficking and economic fraud affecting many states, including Edo. In continuation of the fight against these societal menace, a branch of a media outfit, BBC Media Action, is partnering with media executives in Edo State in awareness creation, especially among young women and girls. Ifoma Okafor has details.
Sex trafficking is said to be prevalent in most states in Nigeria. The media roles in addressing the menace is considered appropriate. Hence, this partnership between the BBC Media Action and media executives. The gathering is charting a course as to how the media can use its platform to showcase the ills prevalent in sex trafficking and prescribe ways to stem the tide. The media outfits will help broadcast the output in order to achieve general common goals.
The overall goal is to reduce the vulnerability of young women and girls to sex trafficking in Edo State.
The drivers of the vehicle of change, who are the media executives, are ready to convey the messages of change.
Any effort aimed at trying to reverse the trend or consolidate on the gains of past efforts to nullify that trend in Edo State will be supported by any well-thinking media. And NTA is not an exception to that.
We will engage the issues frontally by deploying these productions to create more awareness.
The input on the trends, the antics of the traffickers, and the output looking at what the CSOs are doing in collaboration with BBC Media, NAPTIP, and all others that are also concerned in this space.
They all believe that the synergy will help bring a reduction in the crime of sex trafficking. In Benin, Ifoma Okafor, NTA News.
The people of Obeson quarters, boundary between Ikwenuro and Obeson, Benin City, have sent a Save Our Soul message to the government of Edo State to come to their rescue as gully erosion threatens to suck them out of their homes. Rosemary Omani, who visited the area, found out that the main cause of the erosion was man-made following earlier excavation activities.
Mr. Happiness Izevige is the owner of this house, which can cave in any moment due to the seriousness of the gully erosion. He narrated the hopelessness situation, having spent his hard-earned money to build his house, which is now at the mercy of the ravaging erosion.
Looking at the pit, it used to be very, very distant from the houses around. I didn't even imagine that in the space of 20 years it will get closer to the buildings around here. So that's the problem. We've been trying to use dumps to maybe cover the hole that has been coming, but it's just not be working. The more we try to cover it, the more it opens.
The victim is not alone in the menace, as his neighbors join him in the cry for help.
For this my house, if I put now, I not fit me where they my personal house. I'll go rent again. You know good, you say no Johnny, man, I can't help me, oh. Man, I can't help me, I beg you.
Bala, 2 tasks not easy. All call Bala for the side. We take a nostril before we get motor bad land for you. The balance for you. This cap place not every day like this.
If rain fall, we are not sleeping at all.
The residents appealed to the government to urgently come to their aid in whatever way it deems fit to avoid an impending disaster. In Benin, Rosemary Omani, NTA News.
That's it from Benin. Nationwide will continue in Jos right after this break.
On to Nationwide, and this is our Jos studio. It is only when citizens are adequately informed that they can make informed choices, giving impetus to the saying that information is power. The chairperson, Plateau State Gender and Equal Opportunities Commission, Olivia Daziam, stated this in Jos while briefing newsmen on International Day for Universal Access to Information. Ndayang and Yebagang has the report.
The International Day for Universal Access to Information is to assess progress made in promoting access to information since the adoption of the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda. Access to information plays a vital role in development, democracy, and equality, hence the need to promote access to information as a fundamental human right. The theme for this year's celebration is mainstreaming access to information and participation in the public sector. Records show that the Plateau State Gender and Equal Opportunities Commission has been inundated with cases of sexual and gender-based violence, abandonment of spouse, children, and other dependents without sustenance and trafficking. The Commission is also proud that it was able to secure its first conviction where the perpetrator was sentenced to 1 month in prison.
It may look like a light sentence, but it goes to show that as a commission, and indeed as Plateau people, we have the legal muscle to tackle cases of sexual and gender-based violence, and that is to serve as a deterrent.
The chairperson says the commission will take on anyone who flouts the law and will use available instruments to protect the fundamental human rights of citizens. In Jos, Ndenyan and the Abuja, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Jos. Nolin is still standing by in our Abuja studio for the continuation of Nationwide. Good evening.
Good evening, Mary. Thank you very much. Now, subverting the will and choices of the electorate has been identified as one of the factors hampering Nigerian democratic culture. Daniel Okbe reports that this is the opinion of political analysts while reacting to the politics of winner takes all and what it portends for Nigerian democracy.
The recently concluded Anambra State local government election brings to bear some fundamental issues of democracy in Nigeria. Prior to the election, virtually all other political parties withdrew from the race.
The council decided that looking at the processes adopted by ANSEC, that it is obvious that the government and ANSEC that they do not want to provide a level playing ground.
Amidst voter apathy, the local government poll was held.
On 28th day of September 2024, the elections, as you can see, was free, it was fair, and it was credible.
For an elections to thrive and for governance to get to the grassroots, now, an independent electoral umpire must oversee to it.
The citizens believe that a credible democratic process will entrench good governance and acceptable leadership, which will translate to an egalitarian society. In Oka, Daniel Okbai, NTA News.
Still staying with Daniel Okbai in Oka, he joins us live in Aroma to speak to us on the way forward as suggested by some political scientists in Oka. Hello, Daniel. It's over to you.
Welcome to Oka, the Anambra State capital. Democracy, they say, provides an environment that respects human rights and fundamental freedom. Democracy, they also say, thrive and is regarded to be healthy when citizens can participate in governance and their voices are heard in everyday decisions that affect their life. Bearing their mind on strengthening the Nigerian democratic culture at the nation's 64th independence anniversary, some political analysts say that some of these steps should be taken to strengthen the nation's democracy. And it includes, but not limited to, strengthening the democratic institutions. They said if INEC and the judiciary are strengthened and given the necessary independence they deserve, they can perform optimally and ensure that the democratic culture is strengthened. They also say that this will breed trust among the citizens, and they will believe that when they go to the polls to cast their ballots, that their votes will count. Also, the citizens' choices should not be averted during election. Of course, the issue of money politics came up, and they said...
Thank you very much, Daniel. And over to INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission. INEC says it is yet to officially hand over voter registration to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RISEC, for the October 5 local government election in the state. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner Johnson Alalibo disclosed this to journalists in Port Harcourt. Robinson Deretede has the details.
Rivers State local government election scheduled for Saturday, 5th October, has been facing challenges and legal obstructions. The latest is the disclosure by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, that although the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RISEC, has applied twice for a copy of the voter register, it was not released due to administrative constraints before a court order in Abuja further stopped them from releasing it.
The RISEC has written to us about 2 times for release of register, but we have not released before we received from our headquarters an order from Federal High Court restraining INEC from releasing the register. So up to now, we have not officially handed over the Rivers State voters register to the RISEC. We have not.
Resident Electoral Commissioner of INEC also comments on which of the conflicting court orders the commission will obey. The various political and legal permutations have left residents in suspense ahead of the local government election scheduled to hold on Saturday. Robinson Deratede, NTA News.
In a similar news, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the October 5 local government election in the state has become sacrosanct, saying no amount of propaganda will stop the election. He stated this when members of the Rivers State Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, led by its chairman, Solsuma Osaro, paid him a courtesy visit at Government House. Port Harcourt, Osnachi Samuel has more.
Ofobara, who is pleased with their position on this all-important exercise, said his conviction to conduct the local government elections stems from the Supreme Court judgment mandating every state in the country to put in place democratically elected local government executives.
This particular responsibility, ensuring that this election hold, is important that we defend this democracy. And we must start defending this democracy from the one that we have control over.
We have made it very clear that all of us that believes in the ideas of Gold River State, purposeful, leadership-driven River State under your administration, we stand tall with you to ensure that we succeed.
18 out of the 19 registered political parties were present at the meeting in Port Harcourt. Osinachi Samuel, NTA News.
In other news, Sultan of Sokoto and President General, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, has declared Friday, 4th October 2024 as the first day of Rabi'u Asani 1446 after Hijrah. This is contained in a statement signed by the Chairman Advisory Committee on Religious Affairs of the Sultanate Council, Sokoto, Professor Sambo Wali Junaidu. The statement says the Sultanate Advisory Council did not receive any report from various moon sighting committees across the country, confirming the sighting of the crescent of Rabi'u Asani 1446 after Hijrah on Wednesday, 2nd of October 2024. Therefore, Thursday, 3rd October 2024 will be the 30th Rabi'u Awal 1446 after Hijrah. The Sultanate has therefore accepted the report and accordingly declared Friday, 4th October 2024 as first day of Rabi'u Asani 1446 after Hijrah. And that concludes Nationwide today. Thank you for watching. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.